To talk to Chief Art Acevedo all night. Obviously very busy. Chief Acevedo, we know it's rough out there in the city of Houston. Give us an idea of what you've been dealing with overnight into the morning now.
Well, I think this is pretty much a catastrophic flooding event throughout our city, probably a historic event. There's flooding all over our city. The bayous are all either about to go over or already overflowing. We've somewhere at 500-year levels, and so the deal is that we've had hundreds of rescues. Last count was over 500. We have a lot of people trapped, and unfortunately, this is a historic event for the city of Houston. I don't know by the time we're done with this the extent that this will be, but I believe that by the time we're done in the next few days, because the danger continues, the challenge continues, we're not out of the woods, it's going to be something of epic proportion.
And Chief, will you be getting help from the military at some point, given the magnitude of this?
We have a task force with 25 or 30 high water rescue trucks coming from San Antonio. The mayor made that request earlier this evening, I would say hours ago. They should be here within by daybreak. It's a 6-hour turnaround, but this is going to go well beyond, I think, anything we've ever seen. And so it's important for residents to know that unless they have a little bit of water in their homes, that is not a reason to call 911. They need to shelter in place. They need to get to high ground. We've got reports of people hiding in their attics, and we know from Katrina and other events that when you hide in your attic and you don't have a way to break through the roof to get to your rooftop, you end up drowning. We have aircraft on standby as soon as the conditions allow. We have our 412, which is obviously the only aircraft that we have in the city's possession that actually can do rescues from rooftops or wherever we need to. I know the Coast Guard has 4 helicopters ready to go out of Ellington as soon as we can get them airborne. And then we have several other helicopters for situational awareness from our operations wing that'll go up. Unfortunately, because of these bands that keep coming in, I'm not sure they'll be able to fly, but as soon as they can, they're ready to launch. The storm, unfortunately, is moving at about a mile an hour, so it's just lingering. I've been running around all night, and I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this. And with 31 years, with earthquakes and floods and fires and riots and everything else, I've never seen anything of this magnitude.
Yeah, Chief. Right now, obviously, it is widespread, but is there a certain part here in the city where you're getting more calls from, or you guys are responding more because the situation is just that bad?
Well, I think that I came up after finishing in Greens Point. I came back to downtown through 290, and I didn't see anything much going on 290. I didn't see much of flooding at all off of 290 over to 610. So that part of the city, I think, is in decent shape. I don't see any flooding at all. But when it comes down to, like I said, Greens Point, the bayous here that just combined, it looks like a river right by the aquarium over here in downtown. Those you can't tell which bayous were. The Buffalo Bayou and the other bayou there are now one. The bayous down in Meyerland area, it's just incredible, the amount of water. And you have to remember, and your listeners need to remember, that we're going to have water coming at us from other parts of the state. A lot of the water in the state runs towards the Gulf. And what really worries me is 2 days, 3 days, and that's one of the things that the mayor has been talking about, is it is a 5-day event. He's been saying that. And unfortunately, when that water starts coming this way, we have nowhere for that water to go right now. So we're not even close to being out of the woods. And, I'm a person of faith, so I would say to people just, any prayers that we can get to catch a break in the situation. That's a perfect storm. In terms of creating chaos, please throw them out there.
Chief, I know you're in rescue mode here, but you also have the other responsibility of security. Going forward, will there anything be instituted here like curfews, mandatory, et cetera?
Yeah, we'll be discussing curfews as soon as right now, I think people are getting it. They can't come out even if you wanted to be out here causing problems. it is so dangerous that a person might give themselves the death penalty by trying to drive around in this environment. We will assess all that as soon as the daylight breaks, where we can actually take an assessment of two things. One, what is the current situation in terms of the flooding? What is the projections moving forward? I've seen transformers actually going out while I was out there, and at that point we'll make additional decisions. But it's going to be a long, like we've said all along, it's going to be a long 5 or 6 days, and we just need to just come together as a community to make sure we're part of the solution, not part of the problem. The last thing is that one of the things that I hope people will learn, that when we come around and tell you to evacuate, which we did in the Greens Point area, where our officers actually, we've been monitoring that bayou up to the Greens Bayou all day, and when we saw that it was starting to come up, we actually started telling people to leave, and unfortunately, a lot of them didn't. And as we rescued them, and water was above our waist, and we're rescuing probably about 50 kids up there and a bunch of other family members. They put their children at risk and officers at risk simply because they didn't want to be inconvenienced. And an inconvenience is nothing when you're considering the wrath of moving water and flood water.
Chief, we were talking about, and you had mentioned assistance and help coming in, but you did say the Coast Guard with helicopters, but the bands were making it difficult. So we've heard about the air. We know just how difficult it is here on the ground. We saw in Greens Point the heavy trucks and the boats there as well. Do you have other units like that in different parts of the city that can mobilize if it calls for it or warrants it?
We're going to mobilize as many high-profile vehicles. We're working on trying to get the city's dump trucks to start deploying those in the interim. So they have dozens of dump trucks that we're in the process of trying to deploy. Like I said, we have I believe about 25 high water trucks coming from a task force that's on its way. And again, we'll have at least 5 aircraft, 4 Coast Guard, and 1 of ours for rescues as soon as we have the right conditions. So we have boats. Obviously, we don't have an unlimited number of boats in this city, but we do have boats working, Zodiacs and other boats working in different parts of the city, working on rescues, and obviously our high water rescue vehicles. But it's going to be, again, not just a long night, long day. It's going to be a long week, and if the weather pattern that we think is still yet to come, and the water movement and flow and is still yet to come happens, I think we're going to be in a long haul recovery mode here in our city, unfortunately.
And I think, unfortunately, most people would agree with you. Police Chief for Houston, Art Acevedo. Chief, thank you. I know you've got a lot going on. We appreciate you taking the time and shedding light on what exactly you're grappling with. Thank you, and be safe.
And thank you, guys. I think the media has done a phenomenal job of helping us get messages out, and I can tell you, you're probably helping save lives, so thank you very much.